Hi, my name is Kayla Brown, and I'm going to be discussing effective literacy instruction for students with moderate to severe disabilities. So let's look at what instruction looked like in the past. A lot of literacy instruction was focused more on functional skills, which resulted in a limited academic instruction for these students. A lot of times it was route memorization, sight words memorization, and this puts an unnecessary cap on students' abilities. It's the notion that you can't do something, so I'm not going to try to teach them. Now, literacy instruction has changed over the years, but that has also come with some challenges. We know there's a wide variety of communication needs for students with moderate to severe disabilities. Some students may be nonverbal, some are using an AAC device, some may be incredibly vocal, but that wide variety can be difficult for classroom teachers. Also, there's limited access to curriculum. We are just now learning more about the foundations of reading and how to implement that in the classroom. And so, with that, you might be learning a new curriculum or participating in something that you're not necessarily used to. Similar to communication needs, there's also a wide ability range in classroom, especially for federal setting 3 classrooms or self contained classrooms. I know for myself, I teach second through fifth grade, and there's a wide age range along with the academic needs of my classroom. And then something that all teachers face a challenge with is student engagement. We are always trying to get our students to participate more in the instruction, but sometimes it can be tricky. So while there are challenges, literacy is so important. So let's talk about why. Literacy is one of the key impacts for independence in students' lives. We use literacy in our day to day life more than we know, especially for things like reading menus, following street signs, and navigating public transportation. With literacy also comes better communication. Building literacy skills helps students to communicate their thoughts, feelings, and needs more effectively. Along with that is self advocacy. The more we are able to build our literacy skills, it also increases the tools students have to express what they need to be successful. And then lastly, most careers require a basic foundation of literacy skills, so it also increases the opportunities that these students have to get jobs after school. So let's look at the research and evidence-based practices for literacy instruction. The first is systematic instruction, implementing universal design for learning, and using alternative and augmented communication. So let's dive into it a little deeper. Systematic instruction involves specifically teaching the skills needed for reading. This might look like task analysis, and that is breaking chain skills down into the discrete skills and teaching them sequentially. You then need to collect data on what the student have learned and give prompting as needed. They recommend using a most to least style for prompting. This looks like maybe more hands-on with the student, and over time as they get better with that skill, you take a step back. Again, then you need to give reinforcement and use the gradual release. You want to give a lot of reinforcement up front when you're using and developing a new skill. And as that skill becomes a little bit more automatic for them, you can give a little bit less reinforcement, maybe once every 3 times that they get it correct, and so on. And then the last part of task analysis is generalization of that skill. We want students to not only use it in the classroom, but at recess, at home, in the community, and everywhere else. Another thing that I learned is that we need to be teaching the big 5 in reading. That is phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. Like I said in the past, reading and literacy instruction only really focused on rote memorization of words and didn't teach them how to decode words, how to use letter sounds and analyze what they're seeing, and using morphology, things like that. We need to be teaching those skills to students with severe and moderate disabilities as well. And then also, when we're giving this instruction, we need to keep in mind that small group instruction is more effective for beginning readers with difficulties. Now, this includes students with the moderate to severe disabilities, but it's also something to keep in mind if you're a general education teacher as well and you have a student that's struggling to read. Next is universal design for learning. This is giving every student the tools that they need to be successful in the instruction. UDL is equitable, it's making sure that we're not all getting the same things, we're getting what we need. It's individualized, it's showing that uniqueness is a beautiful thing and it's okay to ask for help. And a UDL has also shown an increase in engagement. That brings it back to one of the challenges that I talked about before. UDL makes it so that these students want to participate and can be successful. I also did another project on UDL. I linked in here if you're interested in learning more about different UDL strategies. Go ahead and give that a look. Lastly, I want to talk about implementing alternative and augmented communication in the classroom. This has shown great benefits for students who are learning to read because a lot of these students may be nonverbal, but that doesn't mean they don't have their own thoughts and ideas. So, some of the ways to get these out and into the classroom that you can assess is utilizing high tech and low tech AAC. This might be something like an AAC device using iPads or eye gaze devices. It could also be utilizing low tech like core boards, stamps, visual choices, and using technology in the classroom. Using technology in the classroom is highly motivating because it can also give immediate feedback to students while they're learning. Sometimes using an AAC device can be daunting because it's new to you. There's a lot of different devices out there. I would highly recommend if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by this aspect of teaching literacy to connect with your speech and language pathologist, and they can help you out and give you some training, or your TAs some training on how to effectively utilize this in the classroom. Some of the ways that I have been using my AAC devices for my students is modeling. So I'll have them come up, and if they want to say a sentence, I'll give them a sentence starter and have them press the button to model what that looks like for all students. And this also gives them a way to show students who are not using an AAC device that it's not a toy, but it is a means of communication and for sharing what they know. So, what is the impact on making sure that all students have effective or meaningful access to literacy instruction? Well, for students, we learned that it's increased engagement, greater independence, and equitable access to instruction. For your colleagues, it's clear and specific policies and consistent practices across the board. And for the school, it's improved alignment with the standards and evidence based instruction, which is something I know we are all pushing for. Here are the references if you're interested in learning more, and thank you.